So I want to share with you more information on your try and apply assignments. And so this is the try and apply form. You'll find it on Canvas under your assignments. And I want to kind of just go over with you to let you know what it entails and what the expectation is. And this try and apply form goes for any content area in any lesson you're teaching. So this one says one-on-one math lesson, but it could be your science lesson. Again, you're going to use the same type of form. So let's start and see. First, you're going to just give student information. Tell me your name, tell me the students' names, use pseudonyms, not their real names, the date of the lesson, and the grade level. After that, I want you to do a summary of your lesson implementation, and this is only 1 to 2 paragraphs. I'm not looking for an essay. Again, 1 to 2 paragraphs. But I want you to tell me what went as you planned. Did you have to make any modifications during your lesson? And if you did, were they effective? Because sometimes you can plan something and then you go into the lesson and you realize, whoa, I thought this was going to work. And then right there on the spot, you got to change it. So if you made any modifications, what were they and were they effective? How did your students respond to your instruction? What about your materials and the supports you had in place? And here I want you to really describe what you observed. And was there anything that surprised you or that you were not prepared for? Again, we're looking at just 1 to 2 paragraphs on that, but I also need enough information that you're answering all of those questions or you're addressing them. All right, the next part, this is going to be a self-reflection. This can be 2 to 3 paragraphs. And what I want you to reflect on are your teaching decisions and how they impacted your student learning. So when you do this, I want you to address what did you do well during instruction? And I want to come back and stress it's what did you do well, not what did the students do well, but I want you to look at your own instruction and say, like, man, I nailed that. I followed my prompting hierarchy explicitly. So what did you do well? Next, how your response prompting strategy supported your students' success. And that means you have to stop and think about your response prompting, this response prompting strategy that you used. Think about your implementation and the students and what were those students' outcomes and how did that response prompting help those students and assist and support them. Did you experience any challenges? If you did experience challenges, what were those challenges and how did you address them? And then finally, what would you adjust or change if you taught this lesson over again? If you were to teach it again, what would you do differently? After your self-reflection, you're just going to do a quick little self-evaluation where you're going to check off on this, like I followed my lesson plan with only minor changes. And you can write yes at the end. You can do a check, a smiley face, whatever you want. I use the selected response prompting strategy consistently. Again, you're just going to go through those bullet points and you are going to indicate which ones apply to you in your lesson. And then finally, what you're going to do is you're going to do a professional growth reflection. Again, 1 to 2 paragraphs maximum. And so I want you to reflect kind of more broadly on what your experience was. So when you look at this lesson, what did this lesson teach you about yourself as a teacher? What did it teach you about yourself? And talk to me about what you learned about your student as a learner. So these are students that maybe you've worked with before, but now that you're going in and you're teaching them and you're implementing these strategies, what did you learn about them? And that could be learning about their skills, their likes, their preferences, their support needs. And then finally, how this experience informs your future teaching or your use of systematic instruction and response prompting. So really seeing how will you take what you learn and move it forward into your own career as a classroom teacher. The last thing you'll need to do is to make sure that you get your cooperating teacher to sign this, and then if possible, and I would ask because feedback is always helpful. So if your teacher is willing to have them give you some feedback. All right, if you have any questions about your try and apply, make sure that you reach out. I'm happy to support you. And I will talk to you later. Thanks.